Hello, hello. How are you doing out there, folks? I hope you're having a fantastic day, night, whatever time of day it is. Hey, you know what? My ear is aching. It hurts. Not from an ear infection or anything like that. Loud sounds, music. I just got back from doing a little band rehearsal and it was, extremely loud. And my ears, especially this left one. What? Yeah, that's exactly right. I got a hard time hearing things out of this one, and it really hurts. Anyhow, I hope you're not having problems like that. But to save yourself, just don't turn up the music really loud or put your head by any speakers and, you're going to blow out your eardrums. Anyhow, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. What I'm here to talk to you about is something that was a little bit selfish of me, perhaps, to bring this guest on. Rebecca Renck and I talk about Crohn's disease. And it's because I have a number of friends who have Crohn's disease and I've heard about it, but I never asked them, well, what is it? I didn't know. So I wanted to have her on to talk to us about that, talk to me, and fill me in. What is Crohn's disease? What is it? How does it happen? What does it do to you? How does it affect you? So please stick around, listen to this podcast. I mean, it's really good. It's very informative. And remember, please like, share, and comment because it definitely helps whatever algorithm is out there that helps us be on top. And also remember, if you're a pet owner, please be responsible and have your pets spayed or neutered. All right, let's do it.
Welcome to Amazing People, Amazing Things with your host, Chuck Tuck.
And I love your mobile office.
Right?
Technology is
Technology
great.
is great, Find the bars somewhere. So,
That's exactly true. It's like, where am I going to get it? You're holding your phone up in the air. Oh, goodness. Well, Rebecca Renck, thank you very much for joining us today. And, this was, can I say it was a selfish thing for me to want you to be on the show because I've heard so many of my friends, well, I shouldn't say so many, like three.
mhm.
They have Crohn's disease and they talk about Crohn's disease and I hear it on television and I have no idea what it is, but it seems more common to me than what I would think it is. And the only thing I know is it's something to do with your abdominal, but I just reading where it can be almost anything from your throat, your esophagus, all the way down through your stomach, your intestines,
Absolutely. From top to
everything.
bottom. Yeah. And there's actually people that get canker sores in their mouths and that's attributed to the inflammation too. So, yeah, it's a nasty thing. When I was diagnosed in 1990, I think there was maybe 100,000, 150,000 that I could find that had in the documentation that had that disease that were diagnosed. All of IBD, that include colitis and inflammatory bowel disease, diverticulitis, all of those in digestive kind of things. I think we're up to maybe 700,000. And now we are looking
Oh,
at it's just disheartening because now it's like 10%, over 10% of all autoimmune diseases. And so we're looking at almost 7 to 7.5 million people that are diagnosed with that. So it's gone up exponentially in the last 30 years, that's for sure. So
is it because we didn't know either how to diagnose it or we didn't know what it was?
no,
And a lot of people probably live with it because you didn't know you had it until what 30 years of age
yeah, it
or
was
something?
30, but I wasn't really sick with it until probably the last year before I was diagnosed. Um, no, I just honestly think we've got that many more cases of it actually happening.
Mm,
I think there's some root causes that are more prevalent now than then,
mm-hmm.
and I think just more people are not catching it because you don't catch a disease, but I think more people are developing this digestive diseases. Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm going to ask you after I make sure that people know that they can go to your
Hmm.
website, and it's called
Hmm.
crohnshealth.com, and you do have a book that's called How Sick Do You Want to Be?
Yeah, that's kind of my little tagline book. The book I actually wrote and is published is Living Healthy with Crohn's
Ah,
Disease. And so it's
okay.
how to live healthy with Crohn's disease, 13 aspects to managing the symptoms of your disease and kind of trying to live a symptom free life. And I wrote that, I published it 9 years ago. So, and that kind of tells my story of where I was at,
Mm-hmm.
um, how I didn't rely completely on conventional medicine. I was allergic to a lot of the medications at the time, and I think there was only three, to be quite honest. I was allergic to two of them, and so
Oh,
over the years they've developed a lot more medications to help with the symptoms. But at that point, I was kind of into the holistic lifestyle changes and managing it better without the medications. So
before we get into that
sure.
part and I'll say like a pre-diagnosis to find out what is it that you look for, can I be that guy and say and ask, I hear digestive, I hear intestines. Can I say, well, what are you eating? Does it have something to do with food? What we're uh, ingesting?
Hmm. Uh, I stand by my point that it's not the foods themselves that are bad. It's the toxins and the lack of nutrition in foods that we have now. I think those are the things that irritate everything. They irritate your skin. If you get something on your skin that you're allergic to or is too toxic for your skin, and they're going to, the same way, irritate the lining of the intestines and the stomach and things like that. And so I say that, red meats aren't bad for you. Vegetables aren't always good for you. It depends on the nutrient value. It depends on what your body's missing. And it depends on literally how many toxins are in the chemicals that are in the food. So
All the
all
additives
the
and things like
additives,
that?
yeah, the red dyes, the sugars, yeah, just the everything, everything. I think your body doesn't know how to deal with it. And over a course of time, it adds up and it adds up and it adds up. And eventually it attacks kind of the weakest point of the system. And for a lot of people, that's their digestive tract. So it's hitting that very specifically. So,
So it is true what our parents used to tell us. You are what you eat.
you know
Kind
what?
of breaks down
That
to
is
that. So,
exactly right. That is so true because that hits the nail on the head. It really does. And how your body can assimilate and make that food that we're eating. We forget that we eat to feed cells. We eat to feed our bodies. We eat to be able to sustain life in our cells. And I think that's the missing piece right now of how we really attack any a disease and any kind of malady that we have in our bodies is, are we really feeding ourselves? So
so I wanted to ask you then, has and does, and are you still maintaining like a natural and holistic type of diet? And is that working, or did you have to make some changes?
uh
And
over
changes meaning like vitamins and all kinds of things like
yeah,
that.
I do take some supplements really early on, and I'll tell you this kind of my beginning story. Is that okay?
Yes.
I start
Oh,
and now
absolutely.
okay.
Yes, please.
So I had I was 30. I had four little kids. My oldest one was 8 or not quite 8 years old, and I was literally just laying on the couch dying for the most part, just painful, couldn't eat, couldn't, had a lot of just exhaustion, fatigue, and everything hurt. Bones hurt, muscles hurt, I just feel like everything hurt, mostly because I wasn't getting any nutrition. And so I saw an infomercial for an aloe vera product, and it was like, oh, that's what I need. And I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I thought that was what I needed, but that's what I decided I needed. And so I started drinking this aloe vera, and it was for my, it's called Forever Living aloe vera. And it's a whole plant based. It wasn't processed, it was an unprocessed aloe vera. And that was like a turning point as far as a supplement went. It helped, the ulcers, and it helped kind of heal from the inside out. And from there, I did start taking more supplements, and I still take supplements to this day. I've added a few, and I've done some different things, but I do try to keep it mostly diet, just by keeping away from the things that are bad for me. I don't eat processed foods for the most part. I don't eat. I eat uncured meats. I'll say it that way. I eat uncured meats without the nitrites in them
Okay.
and things like that that make a big difference. And
Yes.
so it's kind of a combination, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So
Okay. Uh, so, what are some of the symptoms, and how did you really find out? Was it like you're saying, some sort of pain, abdominal pain, and did you end up going to the doctors and say, "What's going on with my body? I don't feel
that's
good."
kind of exactly what I did. I had just had, well, had little kids. I told you I had four little kids, and the youngest one was two. And I thought, well, this is just because I was, have had kids so quickly, kind of
Yeah.
thing, and my body is just depleted. And so I thought, well, this is cool. It's just fatigue. I'm okay. I'll get better. I'll get better, but I didn't. And one of the I knew when I ate things, I hurt. I had like pains in my stomach, and eventually it became a diarrhea situation to where I was going 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. And you're just kind of looking at that going, that can't be right. You never think anything's really wrong. It's like, I wonder, yeah, that can't be right. And I just got weaker and weaker and weaker to the point of I was eating oranges one day. I was trying to get my kids to eat the little oranges for their snack. And I was like, well, Mom, you eat some too. And so I ate a piece of orange, and I thought I was going to die. I really did. I just doubled over in pain, and it was just like, yeah, that wasn't a good idea. And at that point, it was like, something's got to change. I can't even eat oranges with my kids. And so I did go into the doctor. He diagnosed it as rheumatoid arthritis because, like I said, at that point, everything hurt. And I think I'd been kind of going through this for about the last 6 months prior, and put me on these great big horse pills. And I just looked at it kind of going, I don't think this is going to help. I don't think I have arthritis, but okay, I'll try it. Made everything worse. And so and I just wrote this in the new version of my book about this angel doctor. I honestly don't know how I got her name, but she put me in the hospital. She said, let's run some tests. And she was an internal medicine specialist. And she had the colonoscopy and the endoscopy. And she says, we figured out what was wrong. It's called Crohn's disease. And I said, oh, cool. Well, let's fix it.
No, not quite as easy as
Yeah,
that.
not quite. She didn't quite do what I needed her to do with that. But I did feel better, and found out the reason I couldn't eat oranges because I had 4 ulcers in my stomach. And I like to name them Amanda, Cord, Rachel, and Kyle because those were my kids. But that really wasn't the case at all. But yeah, and that's kind of where I was at. I would try to walk up the stairs, and I was just sitting at the top tired, and just the fatigue. And when you come to find out, you haven't really absorbed any nutrients in your body because it's so inflamed in the small intestine, is where mine was mostly, and most people's Crohn's is. So there's no nutrients that get absorbed into the body. Even though you're eating and you think you're eating, there's really nothing going in. And eventually you're just a shell of what you were. I think I had my natural weight was 120 at the time. I think I lost 25 pounds, 30 pounds. I was below 100
Wow.
pounds. So,
It certainly sounds like something, at least to me, where not knowing what Crohn's is, not knowing what it does, that if I was going through this, I wouldn't even think that it was Crohn's disease. Even though I know that word Crohn's or Crohn's disease, I would think it's something else because, like you said, ulcers, I would think, oh, it's stress related, something else. I would have never thought that my body is not absorbing the nutrients from the foods. I would be saying, oh, I'm eating proper. I'm eating 3 square meals. I'm doing this.
Yeah, and I know
I would
it's
never
causing
put
me
it.
pain, and I know I run into the bathroom, and I know, there's eventually there just ends up being, a lot blood in the stools, things like that that are
Mm,
um, more acute, I guess would be the word. And so something's wrong. I mean, but we have so many
yeah.
flus, and we have how many of us have caught the flu, and for maybe 2 weeks you're bad off, and then it becomes maybe it's a month, and then it's 3 months, and it just doesn't go away. Is how you eventually figure out something's wrong, and
Is this something that's more difficult to tell in women than it is men? Do you know?
I don't know. I know that overall, more women are diagnosed with it, but I don't know if it's
Okay.
harder in men or women to diagnose.
And because oddly enough, the 3 that are not that I know are all
Are they?
guys.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm trying to think back. They're going to be about close to 60 years of age, 55 to 60, and at least one of them I've known that he's had it since he was probably like 20 years
Mm-hmm.
old or
Yeah.
thereabouts. And
Yeah, at the time, I was old for being diagnosed. They said that it is typically a college age, between the 16 and 25-year age, that most people were
there it is.
diagnosed with Crohn's. And being 30 diagnosed, I was one of the old ones, kind of thing. But I find that now more and more that it's a lot old. They're older people that are being diagnosed with it, and so that's what makes me believe that it's more our lifestyle and more our habits that are, and the chemicals and the toxins and the things like that that we're just living within our life all the time, that eventually just it has to land somewhere in our body, and sometimes it's not Crohn's
Yeah.
disease, sometimes it's lupus, sometimes it's MS, sometimes it's, we have 150 autoimmune diseases that basically are developed over time. So,
And even though this is something that may be developed over time and or I'll say what do I want to call it, or say that it happened because of nutrition and things like that,
mhm.
possibly. But it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going to fix it and it's going to go away, because once you have it, you're stuck with it. Is that correct? You can't reverse it and
Yeah,
be completely free of
I
it?
don't think you can reverse it to the point of just being completely cured. It's not like a cut
Mm-hmm.
that completely heals, in your body. But I do believe, and I'm healthier now than I've ever been, to be quite honest. But I still have those times where the symptoms will come back. It's like mine is anxiety, and I know that, and it's eating a poor diet. I can right now I take care of my parents a little bit too. They're older, and so 2 or 3 days a week I'll go down and take care of them, and they eat a completely processed food diet. I mean, you're talking chicken noodle soup and frozen dinners and things like this. And, I will.
And you know how much sodium is in
Oh,
that chicken
oh,
noodle
I
soup.
know it. I know it. And it's Wonder Bread, and it's the processed Kraft processed cheeses. And maybe I shouldn't be saying these specific names, but the processed
Yeah.
cheeses and things like that. And I will invariably come back sick after eating for 3 days down there. And it's like, Mom, let me cook for you. Well, I won't eat that. Neither will your dad. I was like, well, okay then. And so I know it still has an impact on me. And but at other times I feel great. And I don't even know I have a disease. If I can keep to my diet that I've figured out that works best for me. And the thing is that it's funny, now it's not hard. It's really not hard. It's not hard to buy the right ingredients at the store. It's not hard to um, not eat the processed food. It was a little harder in 1990 to do that, but it's easier, much
Yeah.
easier now. So no, you never really get rid of it, but you can control it to the point of it not showing its ugly face. I think it's, yeah,
Okay. The other interesting thing too is you're going to your parents and they're eating all this food that we'll call it junk food for
yeah,
now,
yeah,
but how it affects some people and not others,
right,
especially within your family
yeah.
line. You would think, oh, somebody, mom or dad must have this or something, but it
No, and that's very true. It presents itself so many different ways of how our body reacts to anything that we're doing in life. And even if it's emotions or anxiety or things like that, too. The foods itself, like I said, aren't bad. It's just how they react in your specific instance, I think. You know,
hmm
they have other problems, little Alzheimer's, a lot of arthritis and things like that. But, so I think
sure.
that's hit them different places in different ways. But again, they're 20, 25 years older than I am. So it's, I, I really was kind of the black sheep of the family here as far as having first a disease and let alone a digestive tract disease. So,
Well, I guess we know we're joking at the very beginning talking about you are what you eat,
mhm,
and it certainly does sound like that. The nutritions, the nutrients, the foods that we eat now is different from before. Some for the better, but many for the worse of it,
mhm,
because we are in that we're in that place where we want things now. So we're so used to bad frozen food, quick eats, and everything is so high in sodium and
mhm.
preservatives. So
And sugars.
um,
I found that sugars is one
and
of the
sugars.
roughest things on a digest. It feeds a lot of problems in your body. I think I just call it's feeding the problems. It's not really helping us in any way, shape, or form, but feed the problems. So yeah, and there's other things that have that impact. And in my book, I kind of laid it out that there's 13 different aspects. I think a lot of it has to do with
hmm
emotions. A lot of it has to giving ourselves permission to rest. I think a lot of us don't give our permission, don't let ourselves rest. Even when we do finally fall asleep, we might feel guilty. It's like, oh, I need 10 hours of sleep tonight, but oh my gosh, that was horrible. I can't believe I did that. We just start berating ourselves with that. There's some other things, the toxins, of course. And also, I think just having a purpose and having a why, just a purposeful life, getting outside of ourselves, being able to have service of others, things like that too, I think make a difference. When we're not living authentically within who we need to be, I think that's when diseases show up. I really do. I think there's a disconnect in there.
Yeah, well, like you said too, it's you have certain triggers. You're living a good lifestyle. You're healthier than ever
Mm-hmm.
now. But as you said, there are certain triggers, stress that will inflame.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because Crohn's is like an inflammatory type of
It
disease,
is.
right?
It is. It's
It's sort of
very inflammatory.
so
Yeah,
it inflames
exactly.
but you have to know your triggers, I guess, and learn how to manage that
Mm-hmm.
as well as your diet and rest. Your sleep is so important for
It
anything.
is. It is. Yeah. I used to lay on the couch and I would just berate myself. It's like, oh, I can't get up and do anything. And oh, I'm such a bad mom. And I can't, I can't believe that I can't even get up and clean the house or whatever it was, kind of thing. And, it's like, well, mom, let's go swimming. No, that's not going to happen today, and I would just beat myself up with some of that stuff. And instead of just saying, nope, I'm out for 2 hours, leave me alone, and then we'll do something. And that would have been so much easier at the time, but that's not how eventually I learned to do that, but not at the beginning. And it just made it worse. I really think it made it worse at that point. So, but yeah, triggers are important, and you have to know, like I said, sometimes you can get away with it. Sometimes you can get away with certain things and eating a hot dog every once in a while, but you don't do two at a time, or you don't do two in a row,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You let your body be able to handle it. And yeah.
I think in general that what I've what I have seen is here in North America, I'm just going to pick out us in America. We associate flavor with salt, sodium. We so many people say it makes it taste better, but I know we need to have some sodium in the body, but I do believe people just absolutely overdo it. I see so many people, and I'm guilty of going to fast food places, and I don't go too often, but you get your fries. I'll use that as an example. It's already salted and sometimes overly, but you see people, before they even taste it, they're salting it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they go, oh, it tastes better.
Tastes better. Yeah.
I-
And I think that's a like everything else that we have in our lifestyle, they're learned habits, and it's a learned response that you want something more salty. And I love the fact that we all grew up on sodas, we all grew up on pop, and everything from the worst, the Mountain Dews and the Frescas, to the everything. And but I've got grandkids now that their parents, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why, but they started them on water and they don't drink soda. And I tried to give my little granddaughter a soda one day, and she goes, "Oh, that tastes awful. I can't stand it. It's burning my mouth." And so, it's a learned thing. It's, I have to have a Pepsi, but, I know Pepsi's bad for me, but I have to have a Pepsi every once in a while, kind of thing. But they're learning that she didn't even like it. I mean, she's 7 and she just has never had soda, and she just refused to drink it. And which I thought, yay, good for you, girl. But it points out that it's learned. So, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Yes. And I'm similar to you. I'm in that habit of, if I have a cheeseburger, if I have a pizza, you know what I have to have?
Oh, yeah.
I have to have a soft
Yes.
drink. I have to have a Coca-Cola, something bubbly and fizzy. And we both know it's not good for you. And I think the other thing too, when you mentioned about sugars, we were talking about sodium, but sugar, everything has high fructose. It's just like so much of our foods do. So that's the other thing I think is, we're talking about this diet thing and being knowledgeable, is not only, maybe this is wrong, but not only looking at the ingredients, looking at the label, see what's listed first, take a look at the first 4 things, and hopefully it doesn't say high fructose sugar or something. High fructose.
Yeah. 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 And some of the things that they've encouraged us, the only thing I can think, it's a nice way to put it, is encouraged us, like the sweet coffees and some of those things. And when you actually, I mean, you drink it and you're going, oh wow, that was quite the sugar rush, if you're not used to it. But when you look at it, it had like 1,000 calories in it, and it had 2 cups of sugar in it, literally. And I was like, wow. And so we're being fed these things saying, oh, this is the new latest thing. You need to have this. And I went through a phase working for a company that was just part of the culture, which was funny because they were really high-end athletes. It was a coaching company, and they were high-end athletes. And literally these coaches and the athletes, not so much. I guess it was just the coaches. They'd make a Starbucks run every afternoon, if not twice a day. Sometimes it was the 10 o'clock and the 2 o'clock thing. Then they would make these runs, and then they had some other coffee shops open up, and oh my gosh, that hurt me. That hurt me. I lasted for about 3 months on that one and realized I can't drink coffee anymore. But it wasn't necessarily the coffee; it was the kind of coffee and the sugar and everything else that was going with it. But yeah,
since we named a company once again,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to say, hey,
I told you I'm doing this. Just
but you know what?
That one out.
Those guys are just like Kleenex. Well, it's a brand.
It is.
Those kind of
It
things.
is. It is.
But I'll say, hey, they make things that taste really good. But oftentimes, if it's too good, it's not good for you.
Good for you.
So
right.
in moderation is fine, you guys that are watching and listening. So we're not telling anybody not to go buy that product.
No. They still get my money every once in a while, so it's okay. I'm not saying no on anything. But
yeah, it's
moderation.
Like I said, like we're saying, moderation. And we have to know what really triggers things for us, whether it's dietary or whether it's an outside
Hmm.
force, stress
Stress.
or anxiety, things like
Yeah.
that.
And I think um, as far as stress goes, I think there's a real, still a push. It's getting a lot better, I think, in the younger generations, but there was, especially my generation, our generation, and the one below us, maybe, there's a real push in succeeding and making sure you try to get out there and make your way in the world, get through that college degree and do what you can to really succeed when in fact you weren't even following your path, that you really should have been following. And I think that's a big trigger too, I think, for some people, that, just the not being happy, and
It,
pushing through that not
yeah.
being happy. And it didn't matter what you weren't happy when, sometimes it's the neighbors that you're at, the house that you decided to buy, or the apartment that you decided to rent because that's what you could afford, but your neighbors are just driving you crazy. And it's a constant barrage, into your body,
Yeah.
that you're not just relaxing, you're not being happy. So,
And you said it that early on too. We have a hard time giving ourselves permission to relax. I think we end up being our own worst enemy by beating ourselves up because it's so much easier to be negative on ourselves than it is to be positive.
for sure, yeah,
Uh, and I,
yeah.
and I know we're talking about Crohn's disease, but a lot of things it also sounds like once you found a way to deal with it or handle your Crohn's disease, then all these other things need to be in place as well. And
Hmm.
that's managing yourself, diet, sleep, staying. It's okay to say, kids, no swimming today. Mom's taking 2 hours
Right,
off or whatever it
right,
might be.
exactly. Yeah, it's a piece of self-care, self-development, kind of reattuning back into who you are. And yeah, I think the IBDs and the Crohn's are definitely, I call them blessings. And that's not always taken very well, but I do call them
I
blessings
was going to say,
because
it's a
it's
blessing?
a blessing,
Okay.
yeah. Because it's very, very obvious that something's off in your life. It's very
Yeah.
obvious. Even people that are perfectly healthy. I heard a story from about Tony Robbins, and how every time he goes onto the stage, and you have to think about how many times he's been on the stage now and how many millions and millions of people he's talked to, he still gets a tightness in his stomach. And so that right there tells you that emotions, anxiety are always related to the body, and the body's telling you what's going on with that. Sometimes that's a good stress, and sometimes it's a bad stress, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
and that's where I think it's a blessing. It's very obvious that it's telling you something's off. It's very obvious that it's telling you shouldn't be eating these certain things. You need more rest. You need to deal with the mother-in-law that's just, driving you crazy. Whatever it is in your life. So, yeah.
So true. I'm going to go back to saying moderation too, but yeah, know your triggers and know your limits on
Hmm.
things.
So important.
I'm it is. I say I'm semi allergic to nuts because I'll my joints will swell up if I eat too many. But I love nuts, but I eat them. My friends are like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, but I know my limit."
Right. I'm willing
So
to put
I'll
up
go right
this.
up to that
Yeah,
point.
I'm willing to put up with this much pain to have them. Right. Yeah,
Yep, I'll go right to that border, right to that point. That's my limit right there. No more.
I get it.
But
I get it.
can you remind everybody again where they can go to get more information from you as far as Crohn's disease?
Absolutely. My website is crohnshealth.com. That's CROHNSHEALTH. Stop and think here.com. And I'm actually running a challenge later this month. So if you hit Crohn's Health with a /challenge, CHALLENGE, you'll be able to sign into that challenge. It does take us into, I've got some freebies on that website, just some basic blueprints of how I was able to manage things. Yeah, and I think it's something that people need to understand too, that you can manage it with something more than just medications. So, yeah, that's my goal, that people understand that they have a power in their own body, that they can make this work. So,
Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. This has really been a fun conversation with you, and it's really opened up my eyes to, a little bit more about the disease, so I can understand those three friends that I have and what they're going through sometimes. I don't see them much at all now, but I do recall back in the day, certain things where they're not feeling well, or we go out and everybody's eating a pizza or whatever it might be, and they say, I'm not going to have anything right now. And then they say, because Crohn's, and, I don't feel good, or my stomach. Now I
yeah,
understand.
yeah, it does limit you. It does limit you. Yeah, till you
Yeah.
get things under control.
Well, and last thing for me then, like I said, taking and getting things under control, it's not a defined timeline. It's different for people, right? It's not like saying, oh, I made the change, so a week from now I'm going to be better. It's not like
No,
that,
no, it's
right?
not like that. And it I don't know if it depends, and I'm not a medical professional. This is more personal experience, and I kind of think that is a plus. But I don't know if it depends on how long it's been going on in your system, of how long it needs to take to turn
Mm,
around, or if you can just hit it really hard and take away all of the triggers. That's kind of a high hope too, I think, until we really know what they are.
yeah.
And but it's a lifetime. It's a lifestyle, and that's the way I looked at it. It was a lifestyle. I had a new normal from very early on, that I knew I had to live a certain way. It wasn't just a free for all. I couldn't just do anything I ever wanted. And like you said, sometimes you can't eat pizza. Sometimes you can't go out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't go swimming. It just is. You don't have the energy. You don't have the wherewithal to do that. So yeah, it'll come and go. It comes and goes for forever, but I think for the most part you can keep it down on the down low, to where you don't have to not be able to live your life. So,
Well, there you go, folks. I mean, whether it's Crohn's disease or anything else, like Rebecca was saying, lifestyle change. If there's something that's not working in your body, you're not feeling good, it's possibly the lifestyle, and that includes your foods and whatever it is that you're doing. Try to make a change to be healthier and to be better, to live a longer, healthier life. And I think you also said, find a purpose. Find a purpose, and to make you happy. And happiness is also going to make you feel and be healthier.
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
uh, Re-
Thank you. Thank you.
Rebecca, Rebecca Renck, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate this. Like I said, I've learned a lot.
Good, good. I hope so, and I appreciate you having me on. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again.